Hey everyone, welcome back. In the previous video, we were working inside of the server menu. So if I open that up, server menu widget blueprint, we did the design layout for our little menu here so we can allow the player to toggle between LAN or internet play. Once they've chosen their method, it will start to load and try to find a match. Once it finds a match, it'll present the user with the ability to join that match. So we've set up the design of it. We now need to script the functionality behind this menu. And that's what we're going to do in this video. So there's going to be a lot in this video, actually. We're going to be able to search for a match, host a match, search for a match, and connect to it by the end of this video. And we'll also integrate the online subsystem information so that we can have Steam integrated into our project. And we'll get to that a little bit later as well. So let's go ahead and continue. We're going to start inside of the server menu, widget blueprint in the graph. And let's see, first thing that we'll do, we don't need the event tick, so I'm going to delete that. First thing that we'll do is get a reference to our game instance. So right click, get game instance, and drag off this, cast to game info instance. And let's promote this to a variable called game instance ref, like so. And we're also going to do a little bit of initialization here. So we're going to need a variable. So I'm going to create a variable. This variable is going to be called the play mode text. So it's going to be text. And I'm going to compile it. And let's alt drag it in. Connect it up. And we'll say that this text is equal to LAN. Now this is going to be the text that appears here. Is what we're going to bind that to so that we can change this. So play mode text. And then the other thing that we're going to do, we're going to create another variable. This one will be called enable LAN. And it's going to be a Boolean variable. Now we'll put both of these in a category 2, just called search settings. Put this one in there too, like so. So I'm going to alt drag this in, and we're going to set that to true by default. So when this widget is constructed, it will execute this. So let's add a comment around this. Just hit C and say event construct get game info reference and set play mode to LAN. So. Next thing we'll do is provide the ability to toggle between LAN and internet searching. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead, and before we do that, actually, I just noticed this is called widget_0. Let's go to the designer and rename this for our widget switcher. So the widget switcher, select that. And we'll call this toggle displayed widget. Just so it's something a little bit more descriptive than the default name. Okay, let's go ahead and let's add an onClicked for toggle left and add an onClicked for toggle right, like so. And let's, first thing we're going to need to do is branch. So I'm going to hold B and left click, connect this up. Condition we're going to be checking is whether or not this is true. So I'm going to just drag this and drop this on top. And if LAN is already true, we're not going to do anything. If it's false, we're then going to set it. So let's alt drag in, enable LAN. This up, set this to true. Let's take our play mode text. I'm just going to copy it from up here, actually. Paste it, and we're going to set it to LAN. So whenever we press left, we're going to enable LAN. Whenever we press right, we're going to enable internet searching. So I'm going to copy all this, paste it, and hook this up. And I'm going to control, grab, and plug that into true, and just move this up a little bit. And we're now going to set this to false, and we are searching internet games. So we'll just say internet, or Steam, or online, or whatever you want to say there. So that's all we're going to do for toggling our search method. So I'm going to add a comment around this and just say toggle search method. So moving right along, let's do our back button functionality, because that's going to be easy. Just click add an onClicked for back button. And all a back button is going to do is remove from parent. So remove the search or server menu from display. Get our game instance ref, control drag that in. And now we're going to show the main menu. So hook this up, like so, not like that, like so. And add a commenter on this and return to main menu. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do the accept button. I'll do the accept button up here. So let's take our accept button, add it on clicked, and accept. Well, let's just do it down here since it added it down here. Accept is going to do two different things. It's either going to accept our search method, and then once it's done searching, it's going to present us with the ability to accept again, but this time whether or not to accept and join the match. So we're going to have two different functionality, two different ways that accept can be handled. So we're going to need a branch to check which version of the accept we want to proceed with. So I'm going to hold B and left click, create a branch, connect this up. And we're going to need a new variable for this. And this new variable is going to be called session found with a question mark. It's going to be under search settings. So I'll control and drag that in, or just drag it on top like so. So if we've found a session, what we're going to be doing is let's remove from parent. Remove from parent because we no longer need the search menu. And what we'll do then is get our game instance ref, hold control and drag that in, drag off of this, and we're going to join the server because we've decided we want to join that server. Now it's asking for the session to join. We don't know what that's going to be just yet, so I'm going to promote that to a variable actually. I'm going to right click on this, promote that to a variable called available session. And let's just put it under here too, search settings. Okay. If we haven't found a session, that means we're just choosing our search method. At that point, we want to perform a search for sessions to join. We're going to have a macro do this instead of having all that script inside the event graph here. So I'm going to create a macro for this. And this macro is going to be called refresh servers. And it's going to have an input and an output. They're both going to be executable pins. So we'll just call this in. And executable out, we'll just call that out, just in case we want to have some additional script follow this. So back on the event graph now, what we'll do is just call that macro. So I'm going to take this and drag it in and connect it up. So now we could have something follow the macro if we wanted, but for now we're just going to leave it just like that. That's all we're going to do. We'll do the macro here towards the end. Let's get the event graph done first. So add a comment on this and say accept button searches and joins a server if one is available. Something like that. Okay, next thing we're going to do, let's go ahead. We're going to need a custom event for this actually. So let's create a custom event. Right click, custom event. This custom event is going to be called display session. So this is going to handle displaying the session that we found from our refresh servers. So it's going to need an input. Let's go ahead and add this. The input is going to be, let's see, blueprint session result. So blueprint session result. And as I'm typing this, I actually think we don't necessarily need this, but we'll add it for now and we'll remove it if we don't need it. But as I'm thinking about this, we probably don't need this. So we'll call this session to join for now. And we're going to take our available sessions and set this here. Yeah, I don't think we need this, but I'm going to add it. And then what we'll do is we need to have a timer because we're going to get to the point where we're presenting the user with the countdown. We found a match. Do you want to join? So we're going to have a timer countdown for us. So we're going to set that up. So for this, we're going to set timer by event. So we're going to connect this up. And we'll say every 1 second, and it's looping. And let's also, we're going to create another variable here actually. So I'm going to create one more variable here. This is going to be called the play mode header. And we'll make this text. We'll put it under search settings. Whoops. So, it's giving me an error because I haven't assigned the event yet. That's fine. We'll do that in a second. I'm going to alt drag in the play mode header. This up, and we're going to call this match available join the match, question mark. And this is the text that will appear right here. We'll bind it to that. So there's that. Let's create a event that we're going to be calling every 1 second here. This is going to be a custom event called session timer. Now we can take this little handle here and plug it in like so. So this will get called every 1 second until we tell it to stop. So let's go ahead and let's branch here at this point. So I'm going to be on left click. And we're going to take session found now, drag and drop that on top, making sure that we've found a session. If we haven't, we're not going to do anything. If we have, I'm going to hold in now and left click the in key. So a do in the number of times. And we're going to do this 10 times. So I'm counting down from 0. I'm also going to create a custom event here, custom event called reset timer, so that we can call this and reset this when we want to, because it's only going to do it 10 times and then stop, so we need to reset it. And then I'm going to create a function to handle the counting down and updating of our widgets. I'm not going to do that inside of the graph here. So I'm going to create a function for this called handle countdown. So, and let's just hook that up in the event graph real quick. Let's just take our handle countdown. Where'd it go? There it is. And plug this in like so. So now if we compile, that error should go away. Yeah. So let's add a comment around this. All of this. This comment is server has been found. Displays countdown to join message, like so. Okay, let's go ahead and do the handle countdown real quick. So that'll be pretty easy. So I'm going to double click and open that up so we get the graph. And inside of this, let's see, first thing that we're going to need is a value to represent our countdown. So we're going to need a variable for this. It's going to be called timer value. It's going to be an integer. So, and we'll put it under search settings too. I'm going to compile and set the default for this. We'll check defaults again at the end before we test everything. So we're going to set that to 10 by default. And we're going to control drag it in now, and then we'll alt drag it in because we're going to set it now at this point. So I'm going to hook this up, drag off of this, hit a minus sign. So we're decrementing this. There we go. And at this point, we're going to check and see if we are at 0. So I'm going to hold B and left click to create a branch. Connect this up and say, is timer value equal to 0? If it's not, we're not going to do anything. However, if it is, we're going to take our session found here, hold Alt, drag that in. We're going to set it to null at this point, so leaving it, or not null, false at this point. We're going to take our timer value, hold Alt, drag that in, and we're going to reset that back to 10. And we need a couple more variables here. We're going to need a variable to toggle the display of our buttons down here. So let's do that. Let's create a variable for that. This variable is going to be called button visibility. It's going to be of the eSlate visibility type. So let's compile that. Let's put it under search settings, and let's alt drag that in because we're now going to set our buttons to visible. When we're searching for a match, we're going to set our buttons to hidden because we don't want those buttons up while we're searching. Okay, so let's take the play mode header now. We'll hold alt, drag that in. And we're now going to set this back to choose search method. Is that what we called it? Or choose play method is what we called it. So let's say choose play method so it's consistent. So choose play method. And now we're going to take our toggle display widget here. So I'm going to control drag that in and drag off of it and say set active widget index. Set active widget index. And we want to set it to 0 so it goes back to the default 1. Once we've done all that, we're then going to say reset timer. So that should be all we need. Compile. Should be good to go. Let's save it just in case. All right, the other thing that we need to do is our refresh servers macro. So let's go ahead and do that. Just gonna double click, open that up. I'm gonna move these way over because there's gonna be a lot of script in here. Well, not too much, it should be all right. All right, so we're determined that we want to start searching for a match. First thing that we're going to do is take our button visibility here. We'll Alt, drag that in. And we're going to set that to hidden at this point. We're then going to take our play mode header, Alt, drag that in. And we're going to set that to say searching. So we're searching for a match. Could add some periods at the end there, like searching, something like that. At that point, we're going to take our toggle display widget, control drag that in, drag off of it, set active widget index. And now we're going to set it to 1, which is our loading. So we're going to set this to 1 at this point. And the next thing we're going to need is a variable. We're going to need a variable to hold all of the sessions that we find. So we're going to call this found sessions. It's going to be of the blueprint session result type. And it's also going to be an array. Let's set the category to search settings. So first thing we're going to do, let's control drag this in. Before we start searching, we want to clear this variable out. So let's drag off this and say clear to empty that out so that we can start fresh. Why is that not aligning perfectly? That's going to drive me nuts. All right, that's good enough. So now we're going to use one of our online session nodes here. So we're going to use the find sessions. So go ahead and find sessions for us. Let's plug that in. So. And player controller is the owning player, so get owning player. That's fine. The max number of results, you could set that in here if you'd like, if you want to only limit the amount of sessions that you return. I'm going to promote this to a variable so that you can set this later if you'd like. So I'm going to promote this to a variable, and we'll just call it the number of sessions. Actually, let's give it something more accurate. I'm going to call it num of sessions result. It's a little bit clearer. Okay. Whether or not we are searching via LAN or the internet, well, that's going to come from the player that selects what they want to find sessions for. I'm trying to plug that in. And you can see it will output an array of results. We created that variable, so I'm going to take our found sessions, drop that on top of results. Now we don't want this off of the executable. We only want it off of the success. So I'm going to control drag that and plug that in there. And we're really only worried about success or failure. Let's go ahead and do the failure first because that's going to be easier. So if we don't find any sessions, what we'll do is we'll take our play mode header, Alt drag that in, and we'll say off of failure here, we'll say something like search. So we didn't find any sessions, say no sessions found, please try again. So no sessions found, please try again. Actually, let's give it something a little bit better of a descriptor because technically not no sessions found, it failed in attempting. So we'll just say search failed actually. Please try again. Search failed, please try again. That's better. Then we'll take, let me put this in category as well. Then we'll take our button visibility and set that to visible. So let's Alt drag that in. Connect that up. Toggle display widget, control drag that in, and we're now going to set it to return to 0, index 0. So set active widget index, set that back to 0. And that should be all we need to do for the failure. So now on the success, we've populated our array full of sessions that we've found up to 20. Or what did we set this to? Did we set this to anything yet? Let's compile before we get, nope, let's actually do that. The number of sessions we want to return is not 0. We'll say 20. We're going to return 20. So we've determined that we've found some sessions. The next thing that we're going to do is out of those sessions, we want to find a session that does not have the max number of players reached, because that will be the session that we present to the user for the ability to join. Now, there are some other things that you could do through C++. On the blueprint side, there are some things that aren't exposed that we could filter and search for. We'll show this here a little bit in a moment what I mean. So let's do a for each loop here. So for each loop. We're going to do a for each loop with break. So let's connect this to that and connect our array like so. And now what we're doing is searching each individual session result. So if I go to online here, session result, you can see we can get the current number of players, we can get the max players, we can get the ping, we can get the server name. These are the only functions that are exposed via Blueprint currently. Like I said, we want to include things like game mode. Server name actually is not a user-defined server name. You cannot set server name through Blueprint script right now. So the server name that players enter is purely cosmetic. When they arrive at the server in our lobby, it will just be a cosmetic thing. You can't actually search by server name. So there's some limitations on the Blueprint side of things that you can search for. It's really only players, ping, max players, and the server name, which is a default assigned server name. It's either the computer name, if you're playing locally, if you're playing via internet based on the subsystem. In our case, we're using Steam. It would actually use your Steam ID as the server name instead of a user-defined server name. So you can't, like I said, you can't set server name through Blueprint script. I wish you could, because that would be the way that we would do this, but we can't do that just yet. So for now, what we're going to do is just drag off of the array element here, and we'll say get current players. We'll drag off it again and say get max players. And the other thing that I wanted to mention too here in a moment, if we drag off of this again, we go back to those online sessions. We're not doing any kind of matchmaking at this point either, so we're not filtering by player score. Like if some games players achieve a player score and you want to matchmake them with even liked players. We're not doing any of that just yet. That could be something that we tackle down the run as we improve upon this system. All we're focused on is finding a match, connecting to that match, and then communicating with other players from the client and server perspective inside of our lobby, and then transitioning to an actual gameplay map. So baby steps, we're going to just connect players, find the first available match, and connect to players, what we're going to do. So what we'll do, we have the current players, we have the max players. We're just going to say, is the current number of players not equal to max players? So, and then let's hold B and left click, create a branch, connect up as our condition, connect this in. So it's only going to return a Blueprint session that does not have max capacity. Once we find that, we're then going to set our session found. So I'm going to hold Alt, drag that in, connect that up, set this to true. And we're also going to set that as the available session. So I'm going to hold Alt and drag this in and connect this up like so. And take our array element, plug that all the way in down here. So we've found the match that is available. We're now assigning that as the available session. At that point, we're going to break. So I'm going to take this and kind of loop it back around and say break at that point. So we stop searching. And I'm just going to take all of this and kind of move it up to the side a little bit, move this down a little bit, because we do need to do the completed. So we could get to this situation where we go through and search all of our sessions and we don't find any. At that point, we would execute completed. So we need to run a check here to see, did we find a session? So hold B and left click, create a branch. Completed, did we find a session? So let's take this, plug that in. If we found a session, then we can present the user with joining it. If we did not find a session, here's where we can move this down a little bit. And we could take our play mode header, copy and paste that, plug that into the false, and say no sessions found. Please try again. And at that point, we're going to want to set our button visibility to visible and present the user with the search method again. So our false is set up. We do need to set up the true now. So we've found a session. We're going to take our button visibility here, copy and paste it, connect the true to that. And at that point, we'll take our toggle display widget, control drag that in, drag off of this, set active widget. I guess we could have copied the one below it. We're then going to set this to index 2, presenting the user with joining it. And then what we'll do is we'll call display session. I can plug this in, and it's asking for the session to join, which is the available session. Let's connect that up. And that should be all we need to do for our refresh servers. Now, if I double click display session, it'll take me to it. We're setting it again here. I don't think we need to do this. It's in my reference project, the project that I used to create this tutorial series off of. It's not going to hurt if we're setting it again. I don't want to delete it and break something, so I'm just going to leave it. But you can debug this later and delete that if you really, really want to. So I'm going to compile and save. And I think all of our scripting is done. We'll have to do one more before we close out this video, converting the countdown when we start doing our bindings. So first thing, let's make sure that all of our defaults are set that would need to be set here. Just double checking my project. So play mode text, we don't need to set that one. That one will be fine. Enable LAN, we can leave that one. Play mode header. So the play mode header, we do need to set this one. We'll change that to choose play method. So timer value, we already set that one. The button visibility, by default, it's visible. Found sessions, we don't need to set this because it's going to be populated for us. Number of sessions result, we set that. And I think we're done. Looking at my project to make sure. I got one more variable in my project that we didn't do. We'll create that if we need it. Let's do our binding. So let's go to the designer now. And we need to bind all of our properties now. So this choose play method, let's bind that. We're going to bind that to the play mode header. So. And this text here, we're going to bind that to the play mode text. So. And let's see, our buttons down here. So each of our buttons down here, we're going to bind that visibility to button visibility. So. And let's see, we do need that other variable. So our countdown text here, we need to create a binding for this. So what we'll do is, let's go to the text and let's create a binding. And for this, what we need to do is take our timer value, control drag that in, and just plug that in like so. So it converts it to text for us. And let's change this too. So I'm going to hit F2 on this and say convert countdown. So. And let's see, I think that's all we need to do. Just double checking. I think that's all we need to do for now. We do need to implement our online subsystem now. So I'm going to hop off screen for a second and drag this in. Let's see here. So if you go to docs.unrealengine.com and you search for online subsystem, so online subsystem, at the very top there's an online subsystem overview. If you click that, it kind of walks you through the under the hood features for the online system and how it works. It says the online subsystem and its interfaces exist to provide a clear abstraction to common online functionality across the available set of platforms in a given environment. So what does that mean? Platforms would mean Steam, Xbox Live, Facebook, etc. So you can access features within each of those using an online subsystem. Now you need to tell the online subsystem which subsystem to use. Fortunately for us, we have one currently for Steam because we're going to be using Steam. So if you click the online subsystem Steam, it's going to give you a breakdown of what's going to be included, and so you can see here matchmaking, leaderboards, achievements, voice, etc. To actually implement this, it's very, very easy. We don't need to install the Steamworks SDK anymore because it is installed when you install Unreal Engine now. So we actually need to update this page. But if you go to the INI configuration, click this. This is all you need to do is implement this script inside of your default engine INI. And that will allow you access to the Steam subsystem. Now, up here in the information section, it says the Steam Dev app ID of 480 is Valve's test app ID shared by everyone. You'll need to get your own app ID eventually for but most features should work before then. Testing this out, I couldn't get friends list invites to work into my game. And talking with our team here, you're going to need your own app ID to test friends invites into your games. But you can matchmake with your friends, and other elements of Steam will be available for you. Once you get your Steam app ID, you can plug that in right there, and then you should have access to that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to drag this off screen for a second, and I'm going to just browse, right-click, and show and explore any asset. And let's drag this in. And I'm going to go up to the Steam project and config. There's your default engine, INI. So go ahead and double-click, open that up. And what we'll do is just below all of this, we can take our INI configuration settings here, just copy all of this information here. Bring this over. And paste it in here, like so. And that's really all we need to do. If you weren't using Steam, if you were using some other subsystem, or if you just want to have LAN play, you could delete this section, and this section, and set this part to null, and that will allow for LAN play. But we're using Steam, so we're going to leave that like that. We can save this now. Close that, close this, and let's save everything and restart the editor just because. So let me close that out and take just a second here. Okay. And the other thing to mention with Steam, the only way you'll get access to the subsystem, the Steam subsystem, is through a standalone game. So playing an editor here, you won't see any of the Steam features. You'll need to do a standalone version of the game. Or you can also, let me bring up the folder again, right-click on your project and launch game, and that will grant you access to the Steam subsystem as well. So let me make sure that I'm logged into Steam here. I don't know if I am. That would also probably help if you were logged into Steam at the time. So let me log in. So I'm logging in off screen. And Steam is up and running. The other thing to note, if you are testing locally, you cannot launch, let me get rid of this, you cannot launch two versions of the game on the same Steam account on the same machine. You won't be able to connect to one another. You'll need to have two Steam accounts in two different PCs to do that in order to test the Steam connection. So I have my laptop. We're going to pause in a moment after we test this locally out here, where I'll copy all the information over to my laptop, which has a different Steam account on it, and then we'll try to connect as well. But did want to mention that you can create a dummy account. That's essentially what I did. I just created a dummy account here. And that's my alternate Steam account. So if I play now, let's actually play. So standalone game, I'm connected to Steam. It's going to load off screen here. Drag this in. And Steam pops up. So I can hit Shift-Tab, and there's Steam, the Steam interface. Should be familiar with this. Web browser friends, all that stuff will show up, but I'll show friends if I had any. I have 0 friends. That's not cool. So Steam is integrated in our project. I should be able to host a game now. I should be able to press server name and say internet and say accept. And it loads me into a map. So that works. Let's actually quit out. And let me do that again. So we can take a look at our find sessions. We're not going to find any sessions because nobody's hosting one, but we'll pause. I'll copy this project over to my laptop and we'll test it out. So again, there's a Steam interface. I can say find a match. Our find a match is working. If I try to search, let's see what happens. It's going to search. No sessions found. All right, great. So let's search. Is there any LAN sessions? Probably not going to return anything. No sessions found, of course. So we can go back to the main menu and quit for now. And I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to copy this project over to my laptop, and then we'll test it out via 2 different connections. So we'll pause and we'll pick it back up in a second. All right, so we're back, and I've copied the project over to my laptop so we can test this out with 2 different Steam accounts to see how this works. First thing I'm going to do, though, inside of my project here, my project folder, I'm going to go to saved and delete my logs because I wanted to highlight something real quick. I'm going to go to my logs and just delete all of these. So, and we'll go back up and let's open our project again. Give me just a second. It's going to load off screen. And there it is. It's loaded up. And let's see, make sure I have Steam enabled, which I do. Let's go ahead and launch a game now. So remember, we have to do standalone to test our Steam integration. It's loading off screen. Just bring this in. Okay, so Steam is up. It's working. Perfect. I can host a game. We're going to host a game here and call it whatever right now. Just change the number of players for some reason. Let's choose a play method. We're now doing internet play. We're not playing locally. My laptop is on a different network, so we're going to be using internet play to connect to each other. We're going to hit accept. Should host our game for us. So we jump in. Over on my laptop now, on our project, you can't see this, but you should see my character jump in a second. So I'll find a match on my laptop. And found it and accepting. And to my left is my laptop character. So here's my PC character. There's my laptop character jumping around. So we've successfully connected to one another. So our simple little matchmaking and client-server setup is working. Let's see. Let's quit out of here real quick. I want to go back to my logs. So let's open in Explorer. And let's go to saved and logs. And let's see this one. So if you open up your log now, you should see, if we scroll down a little bit, find it. Scrolling and scrolling. And we see get local network version. A login request is made by Dizzy, user ID. This is my alternate Steam account. And we've attempted to connect. So it's requesting it. Succeeds. So we're using Steam's matchmaking to connect with each other. And you can see that in the logs here as well. You can see that on the client side too. When you're searching, it'll try to search for matches and let you know when you've connected to the server inside of your logs there. So that's actually going to do it for this video. A little bit longer of a video, but we got a lot done in terms of setting up our simple project here. We're going to pause here. We're going to pick it back up in the next video where we start working on the lobby player controller because we do want to get into some of the cooler stuff where we can select characters and chat with each other, etc. So that's going to do it for now. We'll pick it up in a moment when we start working on lobby player controller.